Hey Rebel Forces, it's your friend Princess Jenny here to talk to you about our Patreon, which you should totally join because we have so much fun stuff going on now. We have a private Discord server, we have a Facebook group, we have bonus episodes, mailbag episodes, live chats, all kinds of fun stuff going on. You want to be a part of it. Memberships start at only $3 a month. There is nothing holding you back. So come on over to our website at heyadora.gay. That's right, you know the one, heyadora.gay, or head on over to Patreon. You can also find us there at patreon.com/heyadoracast, and we will see you there. Until next time, queer joy is magic, and queer love saves the universe.
Hey folks, and welcome to Heyadora, your queer She-Ra podcast. I'm Force Captain Meth, they, them.
And I am Princess Jenny, she, her.
And today we're talking about Season 2, Episode 3, Signals. Ooh, spooky. Signals was written by Catherine Nolfi, storyboard by Mandy Clotworthy and Oliver Maltrick, directed by Leanne Hughes. Spooky ghosts!
Weeping ghosts! Headless ghosts! Princess ghosts! Oh my god.
We're just gonna do this the whole episode. We're just gonna make spooky
without advancing the plot.
It's a fun episode, right?
It's a fun episode. In some ways, like, it's not one of my favorites.
Same.
But, you know, it's certainly a fun episode.
It's certainly a fun episode. It's kind of an easy episode to watch. And,
yeah.
You know, it is kind of like a ghost story. You know, it's a horror episode, right? Like, in terms of it being actually scary?
Horror,
no, it is.
I don't know horror. I think it's too shticky. Like, it's not scary. I mean, it's like goofy horror. And that's what it follows the same tropes as a ghost story. Yes.
So while it is not actually scary.
Like a parody or a satire version, I would say.
Okay. I feel it's like a Scooby-Doo type of thing.
Yeah. I'm such a horror buff. I have a hard time calling this a horror episode.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's not dark. There's other episodes that are dark.
No, definitely.
And I like horror comedy too. That's what I'm saying. Like this follows the horror trope, but you know, like the best horror comedies are poking fun at the genre. And I feel like that's what this is doing.
I agree.
To great effect.
It does. It's true. I feel like it's more a horror for kids. Like, it's not scary, but it's using the same tropes in order to,
it's introducing kids to the genre.
To the genre. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's
that works.
Spooky. But also, you know, there's like a whole bunch of info dump from the Horde, which isn't spooky at all.
No, the Horde side stuff actually is the more meaty and juicy part of the episode.
Agreed.
So before we get into this episode specifically, there were actually two other things I wanted to touch on.
Let's go.
One is the EW article that we already had discussed together. But the other thing, before that even came up, I had put a note at the top of this one that I was like, okay, now that we're getting into season 2, can we acknowledge that we're into the weird tiny seasons are upon us? Tiny season 2 and tiny season 3. Because
let's talk about tiny seasons.
At the time that it came out like this, I was very off-put by it. I found it confusing and frustrating, and it made me question whether the show was going off the rails a little, because it just didn't make sense to suddenly stop in the middle and say, this is the end of a season. Like, they could have said they were taking a long hiatus, but they didn't. Yeah. So I did look it up, and there's an article, She-Ra Cast S2 likes the 7-episode season format by Nancy Powell.
Okay.
Dated 4/19/2019.
Okay, which is around when it came out.
Yeah, and so ND said that they planned it that way and that the cast was on board with it simply for the reason of having more fan engagement by putting out episodes more often with shorter time gaps between them.
Oh,
so, which
okay,
on
that
paper,
makes sense.
And they said, like, all the cast,
sure.
It makes sense on paper. So, like, for example,
okay.
between season 1 and season 2, 5 months passed.
Right.
Between season 2 and season 3, 4 months passed.
I remember,
Between season 3 and season 4, only 3 months passed. And then between season 4 and season 5, 6 months passed. So we all know that there were 5 seasons in 3 years.
Right.
So the timeline was compressed. So yeah, it makes sense on paper to say oh, we want to keep up the fan engagement. We want to be able to drop episodes more often. And that's why we shortened the season. It makes sense on paper, but it didn't work for me. And
no.
because of the way they were, it's like a season means something. It's like a chapter of a book.
Right.
I understand wanting to drop episodes more often, but, if you call it a season, people expect it to come to some sort of conclusion or even a midway conclusion. Some sort of benchmarking point.
It felt like the way that season 2 and season 3 were written, that they were written as one season and then split up.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
The rhythm of the story fits that. So if you're looking at it as season 2, it's like, if you're looking at it like that, it makes sense. But I agree, it did feel a little it felt disjointed.
I agree with you exactly. It did feel like season 2 and season 3 should have been one season. If they wanted to release half of it sooner for the sake of increasing fan engagement, that's cool. But just, call it, season 2A, and then say, hiatus.
Right.
And then, we're going to release the second half of the season in a few months. What's wrong with that? A lot, and especially it's not uncommon for shows to have long mid-season hiatuses.
Yeah, I don't know. But I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm glad
it feels a little weird. Yeah, we do agree. We do.
We really do. Well, I'm curious what other people thought. Were you guys bothered? Do you think we're being old and stodgy and unnecessarily slavish to a random format?
To a random format.
Or do you agree with us?
We are old and only understand 22 episode formats.
Hey, there's some middle ground there.
I know.
Anyway,
I know.
I was curious, though, how many other people were thrown off the way I was versus people were like, whatever, each episode is great and I'll see whatever comes.
Well, I feel like it also depends, a lot of folks are discovering it for the first time now and are binging it. So, they are going right from that.
It's not going to have any impact on you.
Exactly.
If you're watching it for the first time with all the episodes already banked and available.
But you and I were
true.
literally first day, first drop, watch it.
Right. Anyone who was watching it at the time, you could only watch each season as each season was dropped.
Right, and you watched them all in one day.
This is why I am so grateful that I didn't watch Carmilla until after the whole thing was dropped.
Oh, I have to watch that.
Oh, you still haven't watched that?
I still haven't watched it yet. I know.
It's just really, really great. But so the whole thing came out, it's a web series. The whole thing came out in 5-minute episodes. But so there's 3 seasons, and each season is between 2.5 and 3.5 hours long altogether.
Oh, cool.
But so I can't even imagine watching these episodes one at a time would have been so excruciating.
Yeah, because it's like But it's like eating a bowl of popcorn, one kernel at a time.
Yeah,
but waiting 10 minutes between each popcorn kernel.
Yeah. I can't even. And that's also why I don't read comic books one issue at a time. It's just too painful. Except with the current Harley Quinn series, I can't fucking help myself.
It's that good?
It is good. It's not that, it's that good. It's that I am that impatient. I can't just wait. If there's Harley Quinn Poison Ivy content out there, I'm going to get my little paws on it. It is good. It is good. Yeah. It's not it's the best thing I've ever read, but it is good.
I'll check it out.
It's fun. It's sexy. It's a little emotionally painful, but that's what all gay comics are.
All gay comics. All gay everything is emotionally painful.
Yes.
But we should also talk about the Entertainment Weekly article that came out. Because
yes, we should.
That was really cool. So for folks that haven't read it, we'll put it in the link to the show notes. Entertainment Weekly did a list of the 100 best TV couples of all time, and Catra was on it. And then they did...
Catra was notably the only animated couple to make this list.
Only animated couple to make the list, and they were in the top 25, I believe.
I don't know. It didn't say in the article, or at least I didn't notice.
So we actually, Heodora Twitter actually retweeted the list.
Awesome.
Yeah, So you can check out our Twitter and you can see the list. And then there's also this incredible article where they interviewed ND and AJ and Amy about it. And the conversation was wonderful.
It's just really honing in on in the one of the core, if not the core aspect of what makes this show so special to the queer community, but also like to the cultural landscape as a whole. Yeah. Not to be too dramatic. And why it speaks to people so much.
Well, I mean, first off, like they said it was the best, the greatest animated romance of all time, right? Like,
not that that's a ton of competition.
Well, for like a lot of these things, they would put like, if this came out like 10 years ago, they would be like, oh, it's Homer and Marge or any of these other things, but they didn't. Right. They chose fucking Catradora, right? Like, because they chose a queer couple in a framed, a story that was framed as a queer love story.
Yes, but also think about like the example you just gave of Homer and Marge Simpson versus Catradora.
Yeah.
Like, one is like, doop-de-doop, I'm a cartoon, doop-de-doop, and the other is like, oh, bare your soul to me. Like, like, this is real. This is like, you know what I mean? I'm saying there's depth and relatability and realness to it that other cartoon shows would never even attempt. It's not what's expected from this genre. Yes.
It's unexpectedly complex, both from this genre and really from any other genre. It was a deeply well-written, complex romance.
I tabbed a few of the quotes.
Yes, please. I know you did.
That I thought were worth sharing. So first is AJ, and this is in response to EW asking, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think back on the relationship between Catra and Adora? So AJ said, I think it's the importance of inclusivity and joyous writing. There's just something about this show that's triumphant and celebratory. Aww. And I think that we would all agree with that.
Definitely agree with that.
And that's something that, queer people especially need more of, but especially today in our current pandemic world, we all need more of.
We all need more joy.
And then EW said, the show could be uplifting and positive, but you all weren't afraid to get dark either. There are times when the gap between Catra and Adora felt unbreachable, and then there's the horrible robotic hive mind stuff in the final season. So the positivity and uplift really felt earned.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's part of what I meant when I was saying, like, you can't compare the romance between, like, Homer and Marge Simpson versus Catradora. That depth comes from, they each are on these incredible emotional journeys.
Absolutely.
And Homer and Marge Simpson, maybe not so much.
Maybe not so much. It's not a romance, anyway, right? Like, yeah.
So ND's response to that last comment from EW is, it felt like we were in a moment where there had been these people who had stuck their necks out to bring these queer characters to the forefront in the limited way they could. And ND speaking about other animators and people involved in other cartoons where they had, not the showrunners, not the people in charge, had managed to push, like, Marceline and Bubblegum, and all those other baby steps. Like, it was, people who had pushed their necks out and maybe risked their jobs to try and get a tiny bit of queer acknowledgement. So ND's not talking about the characters. They're talking about the people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So there's these people who had stuck their necks out to bring these queer characters to the forefront in the limited way that they could. I wanted to take that momentum and run with it as far as I could, which we all know they succeeded.
They definitely did.
And Amy said, there's this breath of fresh air, and it's nice to give a place of importance to the emotional truth of characters. So often, especially in the TV culture that I grew up watching, that was not the case. Mm-hmm. So much of it was, well, the hero can't be bothered with a love story because the hero has other things to do. This is a procedural show and we don't have time for that, or whatever. So it is wonderful and brilliant, and I can go on and on about ND's talent for decades, that not only was he committed to immortalizing, in a way, that relationship, but also just giving it its proper due in the story and the formation of a hero. That is a very important part of Adora's life, and it's not all work. Maybe that's also just a millennial urge to remind people that you are also here to live and not just to work.
Oh my god, I love that.
Right?
Aww.
Yeah, I think, like, that's very relatable.
Aww.
And then there's one more comment from AJ that's awesome.
I wonder if this is the one that I earmarked. It probably is.
So EW asks, do you guys have any particular favorite moments or scenes from Catra and Ador's relationship that we haven't touched on yet? And AJ says, maybe this is my own fucked up thing, but I love it when there's a complicated situation like, are they going to fight or are they going to kiss? I can't tell. And so I love those moments between Catra and Adora where it's like, the tension has to be broken somehow, right? It's either they're going to beat the shit out of each other or they're going to have sex. We don't know. And so I love the tango at the prom.
We did too, AJ.
Yeah.
We did
We're
too.
all there with you.
We're all there with you. We're all there.
So not pulling any punches.
Not really. And I love that. That's what I love about them.
Yeah.
I love those wacky kids.
Yeah. It's amazing to have this production team able to be so frank and open.
Yeah, and so they're
embraced by the media, by the public.
Yep. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's fucking cool. And now it can even bring us here.
And now it can bring us here to the Horde.
Yes, to Hordak's sanctum.
So, that's so classy.
Where he's doing evil science.
Yep, so he's sciencing, he's pondering his orbs, he's clenching his fist.
Yeah, he's so excited that he crushes his little tool in his superpowered hand.
And, of course, it doesn't work.
Yes, experiment goes boom, Hordak is sad boy.
Oh, and then we have Imp, who is... Imp terrifies me.
I don't know why I like him. I know he's a creepy little fuck, but it's also not his fault.
Creepy Rapido baby, who only it's like the parrot that only repeats the worst absolute things that you've ever said. So well,
I mean, someone trained him to be like that.
Sure, yeah.
I feel like with love, he could choose what he wants to repeat.
With love,
it could be a reflection of his own soul.
Sure,
rather than his master.
Sure, but he's making the choice right now.
Yeah, right now he's a cog in the Horde. And he's going to give us Hordak's theme for this episode.
Which is useless.
Useless. Yes. So, and this, I have a note here. This is another really good episode for reflecting on the Jungian concept of the shadow. Especially with regard to Hordak. So we're only just starting to see now how hard he is on himself.
That's true.
How mad he gets at himself when his lab work doesn't go perfectly the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we will eventually know of him by the end, we see that he is deeply driven by his own feelings of worthlessness and his need to prove himself and to prove his sense of self-worth. And so he takes those feelings out on everyone around him to make it more bearable for himself because he can't bear to face up to how badly he feels about himself and he hasn't worked through that. And when you can't face up to those things, it's not that the thing that he can't face up to isn't the truth that he is worthless. That's not what he can't face up to. He can't face up to working through his feelings, that he has been so afraid to face. His feelings are the thing that he has to face up to.
Right.
And so because he has not been able to do that, he takes out the shit that he feels about himself on everyone else. It's not just random anger.
Right, but he's still a fucking dick.
He's still a fucking dick, but I'm just saying there's a pattern to it. It's not just random chaos.
Sure.
And this is a perfect example of how toxic it is when you don't work through your shit.
Yep.
You could cause an intergalactic war.
For example.
Just work out your shit. And so we're going to see some examples. We're going to see more and more examples of what that can look like, working through your shit.
Because this show is all about working through your shit.
It is.
It really is.
It's about working through your shit and gay love.
And gay love. And working through your shit, teamwork. Togetherness.
Teamwork, gay love, and working through your shit.
Working through your shit.
Yeah.
Which is the queerest shit ever.
So Hordak sabotages himself as much as he sabotages Catra. Which is, I'm not trying to make people feel bad for Hordak. Even though I know it sounds like I'm saying I'm making excuses for him. I'm not making excuses for him. None of his behaviors are okay.
Right.
And none of these things are excuses that should make people go easier on him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can't start to change bad behavior until you understand it. Because once you understand it, then you can understand, what's a good approach to try to change it.
Works for me.
It's just a roadmap.
Roadmap.
Anyway, useless. And we have some credits.
Have credits. We're going to win in the end.
Or will we?
I think so.
Probably.
Now we get to the Whispering Woods, where it is unnecessarily spooky.
Yes. We've got the best friend squad plus Swiftwind walking and talking about Entrapta.
Yep, so we're doing some info dumping on Entrapta. I can't believe she left us.
The Horde must have messed with her mind.
Yeah, but Glimmer's like, she seemed like normal.
Yeah.
Entrapta normal, which is kind of shitty to say, Glimmer, but whatever.
I think she's just acknowledging that Entrapta's normal state is not the same as her normal state.
It's not the same as her normal state. Yeah, that's true.
But it does sound shitty.
It does sound a little shitty, but both are true.
You know, she's saying that it does seem like Entrapta wants to be there. It doesn't seem like she's being brainwashed.
Right, yeah.
So, and my bullet point shortened version of the following conversation is, but magic, but tech, but magic and tech together. Entrapta, the ultimate Yenta for elemental forces.
I love that. I just wrote, thank you, Bo, for explaining that again.
Yes.
I love that.
Well, you know, somebody's got to summarize what we know so far.
But then Bo is like, hey, you know, you got me.
You still got me.
I'm a premier member of the Etherean maker community.
And Am I the only one who giggles like a child every time someone in the show says maker?
I thought it was hilarious too. I just imagine like people that buy those robot kits are like hack like old tech to make it like, I'm
just thinking of little kids talking about poop. I'm a maker.
Yeah, nope. I definitely don't think about that.
I just babysat too much, maybe.
I feel like it.
I just feel like there's better ways to express the inventing of things.
Well, the maker
I know they had to find a different
thing.
word to make it sound like, oh, on this planet they have a different vocabulary.
No, that's not. That's
silly.
not on this. It's on the Earth thing too.
Really?
Like maker community is definitely a type of thing.
Wow, I never heard that word used that way.
Yeah,
anywhere else, but on Etheria.
But no, it definitely is, and it's pretty much what Bo is doing. Kind of like like tinkerers and
that's
that
a
sort
word
of thing
that makes sense.
Sure.
Anyway,
so
pretty sure he doesn't mean for his arrow to catch fire.
Sure, but you know what? He is, in general, a pretty good engineer and a scientist.
He's the one we can count on.
Sure, and but sometimes your arrows catch fire and you say, I meant to do that. Mm-hmm. And, it's one of my favorite tropes, of course, and you move on.
Yeah. You move on to Swiftwind.
Hello, Comrade Swifty.
Ahoy, comrades. The outpost is close.
So,
then I wrote Glimmer. Hey, that's a great opportunity for a segue.
Funny you should mention the outpost. We lost contact with them a week ago.
Yeah.
The Horde hasn't been reported in this area, but we can't be too careful.
And Adora, of course, twitches every time she hears the word Horde.
Right, because
they're always involved. Catra, Catra.
Catra, exactly.
Yeah.
And Glimmer's like, we can handle them. They're no match for us.
Yeah.
This is great.
We'll handle this the way we always do.
Brute strength?
Almost dying?
No! And finally, Glimmer has learned a lesson by sticking together and never giving up.
Yes.
So good job, Glimmer.
Insert corny friendship joke from Bo.
Yeah, the best friend quad.
Because there's 4 of us.
No one liked it.
But it sticks somehow anyway.
But it sticks.
Yes, and then as they're leaving, Adora looks back over her shoulder at the ominous breeze of foreboding. She is so serious.
Ooh, spooky.
Spooky woods.
Spooky woods. And now we go back to the Fright Zone.
Yes. And my first note for this scene is doot doot doodly doot doot doot. Somebody's enjoying their work. It's Entrapta.
The singing to yourself song. Dip, I'm singing dip. Yeah. I love that.
She's just in her groove doing her thing.
She's doing her Entrapta thing. She realizes she doesn't have a tool.
Yeah, she realizes the table's a tiny bit wobbly and she can't possibly do ideal work on a wobbly table.
Sure.
And she could easily fix it with the correct tool. And Meph, there's no weapons corner for this episode, but there is a tiny tool corner.
Yay, thank you, because I wanted to bring this up. Please
good.
talk about the six-sided hex driver.
So, dear listeners, I am not particularly any more knowledgeable about tools than I am about weapons, so I feel like it all fits under the same umbrella. So I wasn't sure if a six-sided hex driver was a real thing or not. And first of all, one thing I know is that a six-sided hex anything is a redundant thing. Because hex is six. So obviously a hex driver is going to have six sides.
Sure, it's like saying ATM machine or chai tea.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Department of Redundancy department.
Exactly.
But I looked it up. And what it actually is it's that tiny ridiculous thing that you get in every box from IKEA, which is also called an Allen wrench, a hex wrench, and an Allen key. It's like a little L, a metal L, and you just twist it around and around and around to get the bolts in your IKEA furniture in. And sometimes you could even have a little kit of them in all different sizes that you might keep in your house to tighten up the bolts in your chairs.
Oh, or to tighten up the bolts in your table, your IKEA table that you're building robots on, the Horde.
Anything. So that is a hex driver.
Yay, thank you.
Or a hex wrench, or an Allen key, or an Allen wrench. And actually, let me tell you what it is by definition.
Please do.
It is a simple driver for bolts or screws that have heads with internal hexagonal recesses or sockets.
Ooh, I love this.
Hex keys are formed from a single piece of hard steel hexagonal rod having blunt ends that fit snugly into similarly shaped screw sockets.
Sexy.
And now she's off to find one.
But not a six-sided hex anything, because it's fucking redundant.
Yes, but she's gonna keep saying it, so...
Whatever. Bless her. Maybe it's different on Etheria.
It seems like the thing that she's looking at requires a different type of tool than the thing that we just described, but who fucking cares?
Who fucking cares? Jenny,
it's a word,
thank you.
We defined it. You're welcome.
Thank you for Jenny's tool corner.
You are welcome.
I appreciate that.
So welcome. Shall we go back to Hordak's sanctum?
I think we should go back to Hordak's sanctum. So
Catra wants to.
So we got some Catra sauntering in. Well, she's not really sauntering in this one. She's kind of gingerly walking in, looking for Lord Hordak. And
she's trying to be a good leader.
Yeah, she's like trying to check in with the boss, trying to it's like when you knock on the boss's door and you're like, hey, you got 10 minutes for a check-in? Maybe and the boss.
She's trying to coordinate their shit.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, I haven't been in this position for that long. We should probably have some long-term organizational stuff in place for how we check in and have communications, because that's important. And it was absolutely a good idea that she had.
Absolutely.
But Hordak was going to be pissed at whoever walked through that door, obviously. Because he's in a bad boy mood.
He's in a bad mood, and he had a hard day.
Yes.
And so, of course, he has to take it out on people.
Yes. And I wrote, Hordak is mad at himself and taking it out on Catra because he's never been to therapy.
Do they have therapy for clones?
I don't know, man. I mean, therapy's therapy. It's universal.
Well, I mean, also, he's a clone that, gains self-awareness, so...
It's true. Listen, I feel that a good therapist and who is a good listener...
It's true.
It's true. The human condition, if one takes the word human to be expanded to mean a person of any planetary origin, a person from any planet, person grown in a tube, a clone, right. A person, person who has self-awareness is a universal condition. We all have our own specificities.
Sure.
If you can open up to your therapist should be able to guide you.
So we're going to
look for... Because the guidance of therapy is just to look at yourself. It's not like your therapist is going to tell you, oh, here's the answer. Yeah. I'm going to tell you the secret answer to your problems. Are you listening?
Here's how to fix all of the things that have ever gone wrong in your life ever.
Yes.
And you're like, thanks, therapy.
Anyway, Catra points out that they need to plan their next move against the rebellion, which is perfectly reasonable point.
Yup. And then Hordak, of course, just snaps at her and was like, well, you fucked up, which she didn't.
Yeah, basically he's acting like she has been doing a terrible job up till now, which is absolutely not true.
She hasn't. And then he fucking takes all of the oxygen out of the room.
Which is terrifying. And even though he's standing right next to her, it doesn't affect him, which is weird.
Yeah. This is fucking terrifying.
This is a really scary torture technique. So now basically he's gaslighting her in the same way. In some ways, it's the same type of gaslighting that Shadow Weaver did to her, because she's done awesome work throughout the time that he has promoted her. Yep. And yes, she got captured in the last episode, fine. So she made one mistake, she got captured. But suddenly she has been sub-satisfactory this whole time, and she's been failing this whole time? No, that is just patently not true.
It is patently not true. So how do you deal with that? Why, you take all of the thing that terrifies me the most about this is that...
Remind someone that you decide if they can breathe or not.
Yeah. So, just the thought of choking, right? Choking to death, right? Choking someone to death without being touched is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as someone who was very sick with COVID and spent 6 weeks having my primary daily task being just keep breathing, it's very scary to not be able to breathe properly and not have an immediate reason or a way to make it stop.
It's very fucking scary.
Yeah.
So Hordak has none of my sympathy at this point. Because this is so...
Yeah, no.
Fucked.
Of course. Yes. And, what he says to Catra, he's absolutely saying to himself, but, it's easier for him to vent it on Catra. He says, pathetic, just like everything on this backwards planet.
Yep.
And, he's been relegated to this backwards planet, so he... whether he's consciously thinking it or not, he's including himself in that.
And failure is when something ceases to serve a purpose.
Which is not the definition of failure.
No, it's not.
When that happens, it becomes worthless to me.
Right.
Thus far, your performance has been lacking. No, it hasn't.
No, it
hasn't.
Fuck
you, Hordak.
And Catra stands up for herself. She's like, I haven't failed yet. Yeah. I know how to do this. Trust me.
Yeah, but she doesn't... She straddles a really fine line. She doesn't argue with him, but it's basically I can still do it. Yeah. Give me a chance. She's not defending herself against his accusations.
Right.
Because it's that's not going to be productive.
No.
She's just I can still do it.
Right. So, Hordak's fine, fucking prove it.
Yep.
And then says, pathetic, right?
Yep, so Catra leaves, Hordak goes back to whatever he was doing, and then little demon cherub, Imp, is lurking up in the rafters, and we see him, again, open his mouth, and we hear Hordak's voice saying, pathetic, pathetic, pathetic.
Which, gross.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you don't do therapy, kids. You work your shit out on whoever is around you who does not deserve it.
And, of course it's sweet baby Catra, who's everybody's done that to her.
Yeah.
So.
Not everybody. Not Scorpia.
Not sweet baby Scorpia, no. A little cinnamon roll.
All We're
right,
coming for you, Scorpio. We're going to get to you.
We're going to get to you. Want to get back to the woods?
Yes, we might as well.
So let's go back to the woods.
So Swiftwind, who, as we have recently established, knows things and knows that he knows them, even if he doesn't know how he knows them.
Yep.
So thought you should know, sensing something weird the closer we get to the outpost.
Yep, and he can't really describe it. Yes. He just...
we'll have to wait and see.
We just need to know what this is.
Yep.
And I love Glimmer's line here.
Yeah.
Alwyn is the rebellion's biggest supplier of supplies.
Yeah. Thanks, Glimmer.
One big, happy, incredibly creepy orchard.
Yeah.
And Swiftwind is stoked.
Because creepy apples taste just as good as regular apples.
Damn right, Swifty. Damn right. Free apples taste even better.
You don't want to let good fruit go to waste. That's the point.
No, exactly.
So crunch, crunch, crunch. Apples are delicious. They walk into the village and it's totes deserted.
Totes desserts. And they're Outdora's are they inside? And then Bo's all right, well, let me check my tracker pad to see if we have any of that stuff.
Bo has upgraded his tracker pad to detect Horde signals.
And he turns it on, and it freaks out.
Oops, it's broken.
Which is one of the, here's another horror trope, right? Your technology that you are using to you're counting on in order to help you solve your issues magically breaks.
Yes. But also it's Chekhov's broken tracker pad.
It's Chekhov's broken tracker pad, yes. Sure.
Because it ends up being, like, key to this whole plot line.
Yeah, it's, like, mega fucking important.
At the end. But at the time, right now, it's just like, oops, well, that didn't work. What's next?
Yeah, it's like
so, of course, Glimmer is fine. Whatever's going on here, we'll solve it. Nothing gets past us. And then my next note, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I wrote in all caps, creepy wind.
Creepy wind, spooky.
Yes.
Which is also, another horror trope.
Of course. And that's almost like how you know it's going to be fine, because it's like there's too much creepy wind for it not to be a red herring, almost. It's like, oh, you're trying too hard, creepy wind. We get it.
I'm not sure if I agree with you, and here is why. While it is kind of like on the nose in terms of the trope itself, none of the ways that the tropes are delivered here are self-referential. Like, they're not meta. They're used earnestly. Like, they do the creepy winds, they do the deserted house, they do the shadows that no one can see. They even do the Scooby-Doo ending, right? Where it's like, oh crap, those were holograms all along. But they're not self-referential. They're not knowing of themselves. They're tame. They're tame ones. They're tame kind of showings of them to show that they're not actually like,
I think it could be seen either way. I think it depends. I think this is one of the great things about the show is that it can be seen from a child or adult POV. Agreed. And I think it is meta from an adult POV.
It is meta from an adult POV.
But not from a kid POV. And it's both. It is both of these things simultaneously.
Oh, I like that.
So I agree with you. And I also agree with myself.
You know what? I will, because I just love fucking dialectics so much, I'll do it.
It's true, you do.
Let's do it. Let's do this metatextual dialectic.
Nice. So yes, there is creepy wind, and now we're introduced to the concept that people used to tell stories about Elwyn being haunted.
Ghost stories?
Yes. And now we start the trope of let's all tell each other ghost stories and get totally freaked out.
So
with a twist. All the ghosts are princess ghosts.
I would like to use this to take a Professor Smartbrain moment about the importance of ghost stories and ghost lore.
Yes, please. Ooh, can't wait.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about ghost lore since we already are kind of like dropping and talking about like what horror tropes are. This is pretty fun. So I'm just going to give like a super high level. Here's what Wikipedia says about what a ghost story is. Oh. I know, right? Like, we all don't know this one, right? But a ghost story is...
Well, sometimes it's important to define your terms at the beginning of a conversation.
So let's do it. So, a ghost story is any piece of fiction or drama that includes a ghost or simply taken as a premise of the possibility of ghosts or a character's belief in them. So that's what we have. That's what we're playing with right now.
Yep.
The possibility of ghosts and the character's belief in them. The ghost may appear of its own accord or may be summoned by magic, right? Okay. Linked to the ghost is the idea of a haunting, which is a supernatural entity or entities is or are tied to a place, object, or person. In this case, it is the trope of the ghost town. Mm-hmm. And it has the markings of the ghost town trope. You know, everybody disappeared all of the sudden. We see, they're there at night, right? Things are dark. They're there at night.
Of course, this is the only time they've ever had a mission that they've shown up at night.
Exactly. Like, everything is silent except for rustling leaves, like all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is kind of what the ghost stories have different functions. Within, just like any folk tales or any folk traditions have different behavioral functions that conform to the society in which they are told. So in this case, we are framing these stories that Shadow Weaver told Adora and presumably the rest of the Horde kids as a child about haunted princesses. So ghost stories are often explicitly meant to scare, but they are also often used to serve the purpose of a morality tale. Which is a morality tale, by the way, folks, is essentially a story that has a moral attached to it that, if you follow the morals of this story, you will be successful. If not, XYZ will happen to you. So
you might die.
You might die. So that's what we're hearing. That's what we're hearing here. Is we're hearing this ghost tale as the morality tale. The headless princess, all of these princess stories.
The weeping princess,
the weeping princess, the bloody
princess.
foot princess. And we're hearing these as princesses, as Glimmer does point out. And the way that Glimmer points it out is extraordinarily meta. And the way that, that is super meta about them.
Yes.
Is that, didn't you notice that this is a thing? It's that low key indoctrination stuff.
Yeah. And then Adora realizes it like it's, the first moment that she's ever had the occasion to realize it, which it is.
And another important thing about the ghost lore, like ghost lore as ghost tales, like not like a written ghost story, but like ghost lore, like as a folktale.
Oral tradition.
Oral tradition, exactly. It's generally part of an oral tradition. I love ghost stories.
Yeah, me too.
I love these podcasts that have people kind of write in and tell their ghost stories, and they're just like read to like, here's our listener from, Walla Walla, Washington, saying the story about the haunted train ride. And, and these are people that have, well, you might not believe this, but here's what happened to me, right? So it's this very much keeping up of this oral tradition, using the methods and kind of tools that we have at our disposal right now. It's not sitting around telling it like, especially during COVID, you're not sitting around and telling them around a campfire. You're literally like writing them into a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, functionally, culturally, it's equivalent.
It's equivalent. And I think that's cool. Because I love folk tales, and I love telling stories.
Me too. Although I do miss the smell of campfire smoke, because that's the bomb.
I do too.
And those toasted marshmallows.
And that was my Professor Smartbrain moment about folklore and ghost stories.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
I agree with everything that you said.
Thank you. I love ghost stories.
Juicy. I love ghost stories too.
Yeah, they're super fun.
Yeah.
Jenny, have you ever seen a ghost?
I have not.
Really?
I wish that I had, but I have not.
Oh, I've totally seen ghosts.
I cannot be a liar.
Oh.
Will you tell us? Do you want to tell us about your ghost?
I'll tell you a couple of my ghost stories. Okay. So when I was a little kid, I was like six or 7 years old, I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And I went to the bathroom. And as I was walking back to my bed, there was another little girl, maybe about 7 or 8, who was like all shimmery and all that shit, right? She looked like a fucking ghost. And she was wearing a nightgown. And she looked and she said, "Help me."
Are you for real?
Yeah, no, I'm fucking for real.
Jesus. This is in your house?
This was in my house I grew up in.
Dang.
Or one of the ones I grew up in, yeah.
Dang.
So that's one.
Were you terrified?
Yeah. Like I did. Kind of.
Dang. You were a cool cucumber as a little kid.
I mean, ghosts or whatever. Like
you were like, okay, I would like to help you, but I'm tired.
And as an adult, I have absolutely my old house that I lived in. I have seen multiple ghost cats.
I remember I was at your house, one of the houses where you told me that there were ghost cats. I wanted to see them.
Yep. So here's my oh wow ghost story. So my ex-landlord was an animal, like, in-home animal rescuer, and he had a bunch of kitties, and he had a bunch of cats in the house, and there was this one cat that we would always kind of see, like, or feel like I'd be doing dishes and I'd feel a cat brush by me, and there would be no cats anywhere. Or like I would be like laying down and I would feel the cat like curl up on my feet.
That is spooky.
And there was, and I've full on like looked and seen this cat. It was like a big fluffy black and white cat. So we would just see this cat around. I would just say hi to it. I'd put my hand down to see if it wanted to give me rubbies, whatever, ghosts are fine.
How did you know it was a ghost cat if you could see it?
Oh, well,
it didn't look the same as a regular cat though.
Well, it walked through a wall.
I guess that would do it.
So, and it was more like, wasn't like tangible looking, right? Like
gotcha.
It was a little like,
yeah.
So
I mean, you had me with walked through a wall.
Yeah. So here's the part where you could say, all right, Meph, you're fucking full of shit, or you've like done way too many drugs in your life. I'm like, okay, fine. So my ex-landlord was also a mechanic, and we were getting the car worked on, and, I went down to, check in with him to see what it was like, and I looked up, and his daughter was a receptionist, so I walked in and I was like, hey, how's the car doing? She's like, oh, good. And I looked up, and I saw a picture of the same fucking cat And I'm like, hey, who's that? And she was like, oh, that was one of my old kitties growing up.
Wow.
He died. He's buried in the front yard. It was the same fucking cat, guys. I had never been to this place before. I saw the cat multiple times, and then I went, and the picture was on the wall. It was cool. The cat. So, yeah. So I've seen ghosts.
I believe you, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was weird, but cool. But none of my ghost stories have to do with, like, you know, or horror stories, you know, like, have to do with princesses with bloody footprints.
No. That
just
would be cool.
Cute, sweet kitties. And they were sweet.
Cute,
and my
sweet ghost kitties.
Yeah, and my cats would play with those cats.
That's goddamn adorable.
It was goddamn adorable. It was very, very goth adorable.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
It was goth adorable.
That's exactly what it is. The only supernatural thing that I have ever witnessed, as far as I know, this also sounds completely made up, but I swear to fucking God that it happened. This is in, I want to say 2007. I had only lived in this apartment for a little while, this apartment that I live in now. And my roommate and I had spent the entire Sunday afternoon just chilling in the living room, which we did a lot in those days. We just would spend the whole Sunday on the couch, not moving. So we had been on the couch for hours. And there were a lot of half-drunk water glasses sitting around the coffee table because we were in our early 20s and pretty sloppy. And out of the blue, one of these glasses, it was an empty glass, like a big, heavy glass, exploded violently.
Nope.
The radius of how far the pieces traveled were all the way across the room, and this is a large room.
Nope, that's terrifying.
Like, under the couch on one end of the room, under the piano on one end of the room. Like, there was no catalyst. We were both just reading.
Yeah, nope. That's the biggest nope I've ever noped.
Who did we piss off?
I would nope the fuck out of that house. I would be like, find me the closest fucking bruja.
I mean,
get her in there. Cleanse the fuck out of this house.
I've smudged my apartment many times.
I cleanse the shit out of that house.
This is an old building, and, you know, it's a large, well, it's not that large. 6 floors, 12 units per floor. I feel like there's been lots of energy in and out, so I feel like a good smudging is all it takes.
So anyway, we had some ghost stories. Shadow Weaver liked to tell the story of the weeping princess who's a vengeful spirit looking for victims.
Yes, and it is fun listening to Adora start to lose her shit talking about these ghosts of her childhood.
And of course, the second Adora says that, people are like, what's that? What's that? Huh?
The weeping princess, a vengeful spirit who roams Etheria looking for victims. You know she's coming for you by the sound of weeping right before she strikes.
Yep, and of course everyone freaks out.
Gasp,
and Swiftwind
gasp.
Is like, gasp.
Yes, and then we see something very briefly, a blurry something that looks like possibly it could be the right size and shape, that it could maybe be a ghost.
A ghost?
Maybe.
What?
Before we zip back to the Fright Zone.
Back to the Fright Zone.
And so my first note here, this is a general note, is this whole scene is about Catra confronting the nitty-gritty reality of large-scale operations management, and it is not sexy, but it is hilarious.
I just wrote, Catra has no time for everyday business. She got shit to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were much funnier than me.
Well, I mean, we said the same thing.
We said the same thing. I just in
different ways.
I distilled it.
Yeah. So, and now we finally get to have some Scorpia.
Sweet baby Scorpia.
So we've got Catra studying a big map showing all the occupied Horde territories. And Catra is, you know, doing business. She's trying to move some troops around. She wants somebody to move in on Orlandia.
You know, Catra doesn't have time for the little stuff. Like, she needs to hire, like, a project manager for this type of stuff,
Yeah,
right?
She's not a good project manager.
No, she's really not.
But that's part of her role now as second in command.
It is, and she didn't realize
She doesn't have the budget to subcontract out.
She really doesn't.
It's true. She wasn't fully briefed. I mean, she wasn't trained for this position. No one briefed her on what her new responsibilities were going to be.
She totally fucking skipped Force Captain orientation.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
Anyway, she wants to move in Orlandia. Scorpia would love to help her, but the 3rd Battalion is refusing to fight because they don't have armor. They put in, where is it? 6 requests for resupply. Didn't you see these?
Maybe if they were, like, forwarded to Catra's email or something.
If they were, like, left taped to the front of her bed every morning, maybe.
Like, what the hell? They have... Okay. all right, this bothers me, right? They have fucking tracker pads that they can communicate with. They can't use them for fucking email. They can't have their files on a computer.
Well, that wouldn't be funny.
Yeah, but also, like, these are totally inaccessible for Scorpia. Scorpia does not have fine motor skills, man. Like,
but she can't work the tracker pads either.
Right, but, like, give her fucking something accessible.
Oh, I know.
Right.
I mean, it seems like they're determined to make the most out of that being an issue and it being funny to watch her struggle.
Yeah, but, like, and, like, I understand that is some great physical comedy, but it also kind of makes me sad for Scorpia.
I agree with you.
Like, the Horde needs more accessibility.
I agree with you. But
you know?
we can't miss, I agree with you. We can't miss this awesome gay moment that's coming. Because
no, we can't.
Scorpia said, didn't you see all these requests? Catra says, I've been a little busy, almost toppling Bright Moon and coming closer than anyone ever has to conquering the planet for the Horde. Not that anyone seems to care.
Yeah. Is this one of your gayest moments?
Obviously.
And
Scorpia says, I care.
Oh, sweet baby
And then
Scorpia.
all of us say, gay. Est moment.
Gay. Moment.
We all know that was gay.
That's some gay ass shit. Yeah.
So then, Catra even has a moment. You can see in her eyes that, like, she's not going to go soft at that, but she's also somewhat appeased. She's like, okay, fine, give him the armor. And more comedy gold from Scorpia.
Yep. She does that great Scorpia, deadpan thing that Lauren Ash always does. Okay, so I sure would like to do that, but see, the armory is out of armor. And, it's like that whole, like, you got it. I'm very Canadian and ready to do this.
And
then, like,
the pauses, the comedic timing is just mwah.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Yeah, so Catra says have them make more. And then my next note is, but there's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, meanwhile, Scorpia is comically dropping files everywhere with her giant claws that are not ideal for sorting.
They're just so slidey and slippery.
Yeah, and they don't have fingers. My God.
Yeah. So,
and she's so good at other things. But as we're seeing here, everyone has to do things that they're not good at, in addition to things that they are good at. Such is life.
Such is life.
Yes.
Sometimes you're really good at one part of your job and you really suck at the other. And if you have a supportive boss, they would understand.
And sometimes you have a work buddy who's really awesome at things that you're terrible at, and you're awesome at things that they're terrible at, and then you make an awesome team. It's like a dream scenario.
It's like a dream scenario, but neither one of them is good at this.
Yes. So Catra says, how am I supposed to defeat the rebellion when all I do is the stupid busy work? I bet Shadow Weaver didn't have to deal with any of this.
And Scorpia's like, well, these are her files.
So she probably did? I'm just saying that's a guess on my part.
And, there's more fumbling. And then,
and then boom, Entrapta falls out of a vent and says hi like it's a normal, everyday way to enter a room.
That was funny to me when she just, like, falls out of the sky and is like, hi!
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Entrapta.
Yeah. And then Catra's so annoyed. She's, like, gritting her teeth. You're not a prisoner anymore. Just be normal.
And fucking just be normal. Entrapta has no fucking time for hallways.
Entrapta says the ducks are faster, and I say, are they?
Maybe.
Don't you have to crawl when you're going through ducts? You can't stand up straight in a duct.
Well, they might be, like, more direct.
I'll have to take her word for it.
Yeah, and she has no time for hallways.
And she needs that 6-sided hex driver right now! Go to IKEA, Entrapta, for fuck's sake!
Right? It's not that hard.
Get it so much faster.
Right, probably. Well, probably.
Well, but they probably don't have an IKEA in the Horde local area.
Yeah, right? Like, it's probably really far.
Like, they're going to have to go all the way to Red Hook. They got to take the ferry and an extension bus. Yeah, it's a lot.
Exactly. You take a fucking boat.
Anyway.
Listeners, if you're not from New York City, there is an IKEA in New York City proper, but is in a neighborhood that is not very accessible by public transportation.
Yeah. But they did add a special bus that just goes right there from one of the regular bus and train stops. But it's like, it's a bit onerous. It's not an easy trip.
Right. So it's probably easier to just break into Hordak's inner sanctum.
Yes. Catra really wants her to make do with what she has. That is not how Entrapta rolls.
She's
She's just going to go get one from Hordak's lab.
And Catra's like, don't go in there. Because Catra just learned what happens when you go in there unannounced. You get strangled.
Yeah. And so I really feel for Catra right now because...
Me too.
She's trying to protect herself and she's trying to protect her team.
She's trying to protect her team because they're friends.
You know,
even though Catra's grouchy, they're friends.
Even though she's not going to admit it.
Yeah.
They are friends.
Yeah. And so she's like, don't go near his sanctum. And Entrapta is super impressed by that.
Oh, he calls his lab a sanctum. Oh, that's so classy.
I mean, it's pretty classy, though.
But, like, Catra's trying to tell her something super important. That's like, listen, like, you need to understand this for your own basic safety. And it just, like, whoosh, goes right over her head.
She's like, ooh, it's classy.
Yeah, like, Catra, you know, she's in charge of this person now who she knows is hard to wrangle.
Yep.
And then I wrote, great moment for Scorpia to find the file on why they can't make more armor.
And, you know, it's an impronounceable...
Yes, they're out of the shiny stuff they need to make more armor. So where can we get more? Scorpia doesn't have a file for that.
So Catra has to handle it herself.
But Scorpia is supposed to keep an eye on Entrapta now, make sure she doesn't go anywhere near Hordak.
Which, you know, Scorpia, that's not really Scorpia's strength.
No. And then we get another fun trope of, got it, I won't let her out of my sight. Now, you didn't happen to see which way she went, did you?
Yep.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. And now, back to the woods.
Yes.
We're back in Alwyn.
Still nighttime, of course.
Still nighttime. Still spooky.
Spooky town.
Spooky.
So the best friend Quad, wandering through the village in a we all have our backs to each other so no one can sneak up on us formation. Smart.
You know.
Ready to leap into action. And Swiftwind is totally freaked out, which is adorable. And also this door is too small for horses, which is rude.
Yeah, seriously.
Which, like, he's, you know, very keen on making sure everyone knows that there's reasons why he's staying outside. Bo, man, you gotta keep it together.
You gotta keep it together, man. You know? Gotta keep it together.
Yeah. So they look inside a house, but it's abandoned. And they can see that people clearly left in a hurry because the dinner is just sitting on the table, not eaten.
I have a mini Professor Smartbrain moment here about that.
Ooh, yes, please.
It's a mini one. It's like a Professor Smart bite.
Oh, yes. I was going to say nugget.
Yeah, this is a little nugget.
Yes,
so,
feed me a smart nugget.
So this is also a horror trope, like, no one knows where they went, but they went in a hurry.
Right.
But this reminded me of the evangelical Christian eschatological theory of the rapture. So for folks that don't know what this is, it's also kind of been adapted into like sci-fi, other sci-fi things. Like the 4400 is kind of like that.
The idea that, like, you know, when the rapture comes, all of like the good people are going to get raptured up.
Yeah. So just a quickie thing. The rapture is an eschatological, theological position held by some Christians, particularly within branches of American evangelicalism, consisting of an end times event when all Christian believers who are alive, along with the resurrected believers, because we're also remembering that during this time, as it is in the book of Revelations, people come back from the dead. It's creepy.
About that part.
Yeah, there's a whole part about that. Would, quote, rise into the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. So it's pretty wild. And this is a very newer understanding of this particular part. It's a very American, newer kind of
I mean, a lot of evangelical Christian modern movements started in America in the early 20th century.
Yeah, and a lot of the theology around many of their interpretations are, you know, pretty recent. So that's my mini nugget. This is like the rapture.
And I was thinking of the town of Roanoke when they all disappeared.
Croatoa.
Croatoa?
Croatoa is what was written on the tree.
Yes. I mean, history was not a super strong subject for me, so like I took the perfunctory classes only, so I'm remembering this from 9th grade, which is kind of a long time ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just remember the whole town disappeared and they never figured out why or where.
And I love spooky stories, and that was one of my favorites, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Anyway, so they left in a hurry, but there's no sign of a struggle. Food is just cold on the table, no sign of the horde. They all just left. It's very weird and spooky. And Adora is reminded of another ghost princess story. It's the headless princess this time. She stalks the night, pulling people out of their beds, leaving nothing but bloody footprints.
But there's no footprints.
No. But they have to check, because there could be.
But they look, and there's nothing.
Swifty startles them, and they all scream and jump on each other because that is the theme of the story. Also, Swiftwind was not a fan of being outside by himself. At least he's not too proud to admit it. And, they're just rattled. They continue they leave that house. They continue to stay in this attack-ready pose. They all have their backs to each other. And then Bo notices a tall, narrow pyramid and asks Adora if it looks familiar. And she thinks maybe it does. And again, they freak out at the smallest sound, only to realize it's just an open shutter flapping in the breeze.
Yet another horror trope.
And then I wrote, these motherfuckers are jumpy.
They are fucking jumpy.
And Adora is reminded of another princess ghost story, The Lair of the Undead Princess, where she lures soldiers to their doom.
Doom.
Yes.
And this is where, you're right, Bo points out,
Yes.
Undead Princess, man, the Horde really had a theme, huh? And Adora, this is like Adora's finally realizing, oh, wow.
She's like, oh, you're right. Wow, I can't believe I'm just realizing this now.
And this is the, I have another Professor Smart Brain nugget here.
Okay.
My note was...
I wonder if yours is going to be the same as what I was going to say.
Might not be. So this is why I said, oh, sweet baby Adora. This shows how deep indoctrination goes. You don't notice things that you have normalized as part of the greater and hierarchical structure.
Oh, 50 cents for use of the word hierarchy.
And hierarchy, that's my nugget. And hierarchy in feminist theory is a social system set of connecting social systems built around dominance, oppression, and submission. It's essentially all of the isms together. Yeah. So it's like wraps them all
patriarchy
up.
And capitalism and sexism and racism and homophobia. All the interlocking systems of oppression together in one master system. It's the worst. Everything.
It's the system of cruelty and submission is like where the name comes from. Yeah. So, and it's pretty much all of the things that are terrible.
Yeah. So that actually is one way to look at it. But I don't even necessarily think that it has to be related to brainwashing and institutional types of mind molding. I think because we all have patterns.
Right.
That we are not self-aware about.
Right.
Until eventually we are. So my note for that is that, this is, what was my note? This is an accurate representation of self-awareness in action. It's exactly the same as the first moment you realize that all your exes have a vital flaw in common, that they, that you gravitate to the same type of person who's terrible for you in this one way over and over.
Yeah.
You have no realization, you have no awareness of it until suddenly you do.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Because
I like that.
I remember having that moment very sharply.
Yeah, no, yeah, we've all definitely had that one. Wow, oh, fuck, I never realized that. Yeah. It's also one of those things that happens in therapy.
Yes. But not only in therapy. You can get there on your own.
Yeah, but she had her,
and maybe you have a friend, a gentle, loving friend who could point it out to you and you could be like, oh, yeah, it's true.
Exactly.
Oh, never noticed that.
It's like her, oh, shit moment, right?
So I don't think you're wrong, but I think it can also be applied more broadly.
I completely agree, and I did not look at it like that. See, this is why there's two of us.
See, delicious.
Delicious. This text is delicious. Just like those spooky, crispy apples.
Yes. But then Glimmer reminds them they still have a mission. Something did happen that forced these people to flee their homes.
Yep.
And we gotta get to the bottom of it.
And there was a ghost.
Yes, and then we have another sighting of a maybe ghost.
Ghost.
But only the audience sees it.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
Also a ghost trope.
Yes.
Okay.
And now go back to the Fright Zone.
Back to the Fright Zone. And then Entrapta.
Entrapta with her ethical dilemma number 63.
I love that she's like I love this, actually. I really love that she's like, okay, I am noticing that this may be indeed a dilemma, an ethical dilemma. So I'm going to record them to see if in the future I come up with an answer. And I love this.
And I love that she is aware of this as an ethical dilemma because it's much more concrete than some of the things that we have dealt with before that have gone over her head, because someone who is her friend explicitly asked her for something.
Exactly.
And she agreed to it.
Yes.
And so now she's exploring that question of what is the impact if I do it versus if I don't do it.
Yep.
So again, like, the importance to her is, how is this going to affect my friend?
Right. But also, and she's like, does it count if she doesn't find out? And then I'm like, well, that's kind of a lie of omission, right?
I think it's more than a lie of omission.
Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty much like...
No, because, she said she wouldn't. And then she does come down on the side of she shouldn't do it.
Right.
She goes back and forth, but ultimately she's like, oh, no one would know, but I would know.
Right.
I shouldn't do it. Or should I? No, I shouldn't.
But then
and that's
there.
where she ends. She ends on I shouldn't.
Right. But she's there.
She's there. She wants to.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this might be the first time someone's ever asked her to promise them anything. Not to do something she wants to do.
That's true.
This is ethical dilemma number 63, but it could be the first time that anyone's ever asked her to put aside something that she wants for the sole reason that they don't want her to do it.
It's true. This could be
it's not because of a natural consequence reason. It's not because, like, oh, if you go in there, something's going to explode, you're going to die.
Right.
Like,
which Catra could have said, but also didn't.
Yeah.
Right? But, like, Catra could have said that would be dangerous for you.
Right. But, she could have said that, but she didn't. Right. So all Entrapta has to work with is, should I break my word to my friend or not?
Right.
And she lands on the side of not. But after she lands on that decision, oops, she's inside.
She's inside, yeah.
And there's the tool she wants. And now she's watching Hordak's experiment, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But now we see more of Hordak being Hordak, self-sabotaging. Yep. Again, this is the same bad behavior that he does to Catra, he also does to himself. Which just compounds the issue, because he's just going to keep being shitty to everyone else. The longer he keeps being shitty to himself. He throws a tantrum when his experiment fails and storms out. And then Entrapta exposits to Emily the critical value of failure as part of the scientific process, which will bring her and Hordak together.
Aww.
In the end.
I love that, though.
Yeah.
I love this. It's okay to fail.
Failure is a vital part of scientific endeavor.
And that is like, oh, thanks, Entrapta. For a Virgo perfectionist like me, that's something that I need to hear.
That's right. You learn more from failure than you do from success.
Fuck, that's true.
She says to Emily, what if I had given up on you after the first explosion, or the 50th? I know I should leave, but I have to stay for science!
And we're about your noble cause.
And like, that is...
We're here for that.
I'm not sure if I can justify this, but I feel like Entrapta is gay for science. That's the gayest moment.
I love it. Yes. I love the idea of somebody being gay for science.
Yeah, if there's ever a moment where she is, like, standing on her convictions and, like, not going to be dissuaded.
Yep, gay for science. Got it. There with you. I didn't have it, but I love it.
Word. And then we go back to spooky Elwyn's.
And so,
just for a minute.
So we got some more horror tropes used here. Glimmer sees the reflection of a ghost form, but when she turns around, nothing's there.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
But there is a weird sound, but it's probably just the wind. Yep. Oh my god, what was that? For the honor of Grayskull! Ah, the woods!
The woods! Sounds like somebody is singing. This isn't the first time Swiftwind hears something.
Right.
Because it's Swiftwind.
And Adora, notably. They're the two who hear the thing the most.
Yeah. And, so Adora finally hears something, and Swifty's like, yeah, you heard it. And then Adora says, it sounds like someone is singing, which is another horror trope, right?
Yes.
And then Glimmer's like,
singing.
But it could be just the wind. And then, they see one of the ghosts, and then Adora turns into She-Ra.
Yeah, I didn't think they really saw it.
It says they look around and one of the bright ghostly forms move past. Bo and Glimmer clutch each other. Adora points. There, something is there.
All right, well, I guess you're the definitive authority if that's what it says in the script.
Yeah, I'm reading the script.
Yeah. I was just watching the show.
Yeah, I always have the script because
what a dumb move. Yeah, I know. No, I'm glad you have the script. It's important that one of us have it.
Back to the Fright Zone. Gosh, there's a lot of
back to Hordak's sanctum. Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth in this episode. Yeah, well, it's a straightforward parallel plotline situation.
Yep. Okay, so we got Entrapta's in the sanctum.
Welding away, doing her thing.
And
then a shadow creeps up behind her, and I know it's Hordak, but it sure looks like Batman.
It does look like Batman.
I know it's Hordak. And then Entrapta becomes the first person ever not to be scared of Hordak's man-baby tantrums.
Yeah, no, she doesn't give a fuck.
She's not even aware, almost.
No, she's like, hold on, I'm working.
She's like, hello, you're blocking my light. If you could just step aside.
It's awesome. And then she keeps working, and he flips out, and she's like, whatever, I'll get out.
And then she doesn't, he's never had anyone not respond to that and be like freaked out. And she's like, just a sec, I'm almost finished. And he's like,
what? And she's like, okay, I'm done.
I took 2 screenshots and put them side by side.
Yes.
Of Hordak when he's saying, get out. And then in the moment after when she's like, and he's like, woo. Like the difference between his angry face and his golden retriever, kind of face.
Huh?
Those 2 side by side are very gratifying.
And then, of course, he's like, there will be dire consequences. And she does not give a fuck.
She's like, you were using uninsulated cables. It should hold a charge now.
I fixed it. Goodbye.
Yeah. All done.
All done. Bye. And he was just like, it's that whole trope of when somebody is not threatened, the person that is threatening is just jaw dropped, huh?
They just do not know how to respond.
They don't know how to respond. Yeah.
I don't know if that would really work in real life.
I don't know if it would either.
But it's very gratifying.
It is very gratifying.
Yeah, he's stunned, but also bemused. Because no one's ever just treated him like a person before.
Yeah.
Which is his own fault. Maybe not originally, but, it's hard.
It's hard, but, Anyway, Hordak says that, recognizes that she was right, and then she pops up behind him.
And the way he says it, it's like he can't believe that someone other than him was right. She was right.
And then she pops up. She's like, of course I was right.
I know. She's the perfect amount of confident.
I love her so much.
She is 100% confident in her abilities, but not in a way that's egomaniacal.
No, she just knows her shit.
She knows her shit and she knows that she knows it.
Yep.
But she's not threatened by other people also being smart.
Yeah.
She's enthusiastic.
She's enthusiastic
when it comes to it about having a lab partner.
Exactly.
Ego does not get in the way of her shit at all, but she also doesn't back down.
Yep.
So it's the perfect amount.
Yep. She knows what she knows and she always wants to know more.
So she is smart enough to deduce that this is a power source. But what are you building that needs so much power?
What is this? This seems like it'll probably be really important.
Yes, I think it will. Hordak is too stunned to reply, but Entrapta 100% figures it out on her own. He's experimenting with portals.
Portals?
And now it is exposition time.
Science exposition time. Multidimensional gates are purely theoretical. No one's ever come close to achieving one. And then, obviously, someone from a backwater planet such as yours could not possibly comprehend it. Serious.
What are you implying, sir?
He's serious fucking villain shit.
Yes.
And he's absolutely implying that,
there are other planets. And then, to be fair, when he says, I kind of thought when he says, of course there are other planets, there's, dozens, hundreds, thousands. Etheria is the only planet I've ever been to that doesn't seem to realize this. On the one hand, I feel like that's a dig at us.
Yeah.
Always being oh, is there life out there? Who knows? Could there be aliens? That's crazy. Do you really think in the entire ginormous universe that it's likely that we are the only planet that has life? That's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's fucking...
But also, I feel like he's being really harsh on Etheria because they live in this empty dimension.
Yeah.
Where they don't even have stars. So, why would they think there were any other planets? There are no other planets in their dimension.
Right, exactly.
They deserve a break.
They just have a couple of fucking moons.
Yeah. So. They got nothing.
They got nothing. So, anyway.
So now Entrapta is on the verge of having access to all the most exciting scientific data she could possibly desire. So that's a big moment for Entrapta.
Good for you, Entrapta.
Yes.
Good for you.
Meanwhile, we're going to mosey over to Shadow Weaver's cell.
Yeah,
this is rough.
My only notes for this scene are sigh, oh Catra, and fuck you, Shadow Weaver. And that's really all I have.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure you have more, but like
I do.
this... Yeah, no, please, because I was just like, Shadow Weaver's the worst. What a horrible human.
Well, I mean, she is,
person.
but this, I mean, I agree with you, obviously, but this scene isn't the worst of Shadow Weaver.
No, it's not. I just hate her.
Yeah, I hate her too. No argument.
Yeah, no. So let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what you have here.
Part of this is just that we have to get through it plot-wise.
Yeah.
You know, Catra accuses Shadow Weaver of trying to sabotage her by somehow masterminding a plan from in prison to keep new armor materials from reaching the Fright Zone.
Right.
Which, you know, seems very elaborate. Shadow Weaver seems delighted to tell her that the armor materials are actually produced right here in the Fright Zone at the foundry, which seems like the logical place to start. And now that that's out of the way, let's have another one of our touching emotional manipulation and gaslighting conversations.
Hooray!
That's my next note.
Hooray! Being me isn't quite what you imagined. And it's like, ugh, God, shut up, Shadow Weaver.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is important. I'm just like,
right.
I just didn't have
I suppose you thought Hordak would let you run things
Yeah.
now.
And
then, of course, Catra feels goaded.
Yeah.
She can't lose face in front of Shadow Weaver.
No.
She says, he does. I can do what I want.
You don't know that he tried to strangle me.
Right. But
Right.
he'll never trust you with his real plans.
Real
Don't take it
plans.
personally. He never did with me either.
And this is a more abuser shit.
So,
where they-
I mean, honestly,
it's true.
it's true. She's, in this scene, she's probably telling the truth more than she normally does.
But it's also that abuser shit where they conflate their own issues with yours, too.
I don't know. I mean, yes and no. I feel like she knows that it's true. And she's, in a way, she's demystifying her own role to Catra. She's saying, like, yeah, you're imagining that I had a more privileged position with him than I actually did. He didn't treat me any better than he's treating you.
Sure. Okay.
So in a weird way, like, it doesn't really do Shadow Weaver any good.
Yeah.
It's weird. It doesn't really get either of them any ground.
No, it really doesn't.
But then my next note is that then they take turns gay glaring at each other. And damn, was that a gayest moment. Not with them, only in, like, gay shade kind of way.
Yeah, no, I get the gay shade part.
Yeah. So, you know, they have that silent, angry oozing.
Yeah.
And then Catra walks out with her angry lesbian pheromones all over the place, punches the button.
Yep.
And, you know, her entire body language is just, you know, I'm reminding you who has the power in this moment.
Yeah. Does the gay punching of the wall.
Yes.
Only it's the button, right?
Yes. So, I mean, that scene doesn't really accomplish very much other than, you know, we see that Catra finds out that Shadow Weaver didn't have any secret inside dealings with Hordak any more than she does.
Right. And that, you know, we don't know what the relationship we honestly don't know what the relationship between Hordak and Shadow Weaver was in terms of like confidentiality, but we do know that, you know, it wasn't all, you know, smiles and sunshine between the two of them.
No, I don't think there were probably any smiles and sunshine at all.
No, neither one of those things, in fact.
Neither one of those things.
So you want to go back to Alwyn?
I think we'd better.
Let's go back to Alwyn. So now we have She-Ra walking through the woods with her big gay sword.
Yep. I'm not sure how many ghosts you can kill with a sword.
Yeah, no. They hear some strange moans, strange moaning voices.
That weird noise is still happening.
Ooh, spooky. And then She-Ra's looking for the root of it. They hear strange laughter, also tropey, spooky.
Yeah. Bo and Glimmer come running after her, and Bo trips over a root because he's so panicky. He's not looking where he's going.
Yep. And if somebody was chasing them, that would also be a spooky trope.
Yep.
So we got them all here.
So I guess the point of him tripping was just so they could be waylaid for a second, and he has to turn and look around. Like, everybody is 100% ready right now for some shit to go down, like, right now.
Like, right now?
Yeah. And, you know, the creepy sound is still there. It gets louder. It turns into laughter.
Yep. It's creepy. It's spooky. And then
Bo sees one of the ghosties.
Very close. And then, of course, here's one of my gayest moments where she really, like, runs at the ghost, right? Whatever we know this is, with her eyes closed, swinging blindly at thin air.
Yelling, "Did I get it?"
Yeah, did I get it? Did I get it? Getting her big gay sword out.
Yeah, but she didn't get it.
But she didn't get it because you can't
stab a ghost.
You can't stab a ghost. Like, we all know that, unless you're a ghostbuster. But they didn't stab ghosts. They just zapped them and contained
It's true.
them.
You had to have this special laser proton pack.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say for your gayest moment. That is the gayest moment for sure. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say the part where they all scream in unison adorably and like vibrate on the same frequency.
Oh,
like a giant, like they become one unified scream.
No, I love that.
That was a very Scooby-Doo moment.
That is a very Scooby-Doo moment. Yeah, it's a very anime moment too.
Yeah. So they're totally freaked out. She didn't get it, so they all run. So it's just running and panicking. Flat animatronic ghosts appear this way and that way. Yeah. Run! Ghosts! Run the other way!
Run away!
Like, ah! Run away! Run away!
Run away! So she's like, do something! I love when she was like what, flail at them?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. I can handle the horde, I can't handle this. Yeah. This is like...
And then Glimmer's just like, stop! If this was be another place where, Glimmer would swear. Like, yes. And then, of course, this is all like them. Like, I can't do it. This is all of them.
Right. Like, they're just finally giving up and,
Yeah, I'd be terrified.
I can't replace Entrapta. I can't make my tracker pad work. I'm terrible at this. Catra was right.
And Swifty's like, and I'm still hearing stuff coming from the big stone point.
Yeah, which is a total non sequitur.
Yep.
But we have to get there, because then Bo figures it out.
Okay, so I do have a question here about Swifty. Mm-hmm. So this is more Swifty being woo, right? So
Swifty being who?
Being woo. Swifty's all like, like magic and stuff, right?
Oh.
So yeah. So here's my note and here's my question. We don't have to answer it now. We can just pop it in the back of our brains.
Okay.
So I said more Swifty woo stuff. Is he way more connected with the energy? He seems to be way more connected with the energies of the first one, magic tech, than She-Ra. Do you think it's because he is a product of that magic? Because he was transformed after a magic tech, a zapping.
Right. That's true. So, he is partially made of magic.
He is partially he's made of that magic, specifically.
Yeah.
So, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. It's a good question.
Thank you.
It's a good question. I feel like he and She-Ra have their sacred bond.
Right.
And, their magic is connected. And so much more of who he is just feeling comfortable trusting his instincts. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Adora does not have that. That's
true, too. So,
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a good point.
Yeah. So, anyway. So they process that, and Bro's like, wait a second.
Yeah, so he starts walking towards the ghost. Everybody else is freaking out, trying to save him.
And Bo uses, the magic of scientific reasoning and is like, hey, wait a second. Oh, but first we have...
Yeah, but She-Ra swings her big old genderqueer sword again and hits the ground, causing previously unseen circuitry in the ground to light up.
Using her ability to repair machinery with her big gay sword.
Mm-hmm. And then Bo says, of course, this place, it's a first one's ruin, and these aren't ghosts, they're holograms.
And we have the Scooby-Doo, well, it's not really the Scooby-Doo ending, because there was no planned hoax. It was just the misunderstanding that shit was haunted. But it's kind of Scooby-Doo-ish, right?
Yeah, it's definitely Scooby-Doo adjacent. And then my last note for that scene is minor dialogue, and they follow Bo onward to the source of the holograms. And then we go back to the Fright Zone.
Yeah, that's what I have too.
So, back in the Fright Zone, Scorpia is still chasing after Catra, still carrying all those files because she is diligent as fuck.
Scorpia's like, wow, you're fast. Trying to catch up. And, sweet baby Scorpia.
Yep. And Catra's just over it already because she got her answer, so she has no use for Scorpia in this moment. Even though Scorpia's doing the task that she sent her to do, man.
She is. And then this is my gayest moment of the whole episode, and I'm wondering if you have it as well.
You go ahead.
So I have... Catra says,
yes, the materials produced right here in the Fright Zone.
And Scorpia to herself dreamily is like, beautiful and brilliant. And I was just like, gay. Because she's saying it to
That is obviously a gayest moment, but I still feel like it is not as gay as when Catra was... This is still another Catra Scorpia moment when Catra is saying all the shit she did. Not that anyone seems to care. And Scorpia said, like, I care.
I care.
Because that was more vulnerable.
Yeah, I totally...
They're both
I hear
gay.
you. They're both gay.
Yeah.
They're both really gay. But this one is really gay.
Answer.
Because she's just like, mooning about this hot girl. She's
yes, she
beautiful
is.
Beautiful and brilliant.
No doubt.
So.
But
gay
where's
moments.
Entrapta? You were supposed to be watching her. Then we get another brilliant line delivery.
Truthfully, I do not know where she is. But I'm going to fix that because that's just the kind of friend I am.
So, you're welcome.
And Catra's like,
Catra, I twitch.
I twitch.
So now they're going to catch up with Entrapta in Hordak's sanctum.
So just a quick little aside here. In the original She-Ra, Entrapta and Hordak Entrapta was one of Hordak's, like, closest allies and, like, most trusted people. So this is also a little kind of, like, nod to that, too.
I mean, yeah, that is what ends up happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Here as well, yeah.
So they kind of stick that, like, relationship together, the closeness of their relationship together.
Yeah. So now the experiment is going smoothly, now that Entrapta has come on board with her insulated cables.
Yep.
And Hordak is pleased as punch, clearly.
And Catra is terrified.
Yeah, and so before Catra and Scorpia burst in, Entrapta says to Hordak, she's just finished soldering a thing, and the orb gets much, much bigger, and then Entrapta says, this is probably the max with what you've got to work with here. If we had some first one's tech, we could generate even more voltage.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yes, and then Hordak has a moment to have an eyebrow raise, and then Catra and Scorpia burst in, frantically.
Yep. Frantically, and Catra's like, oh, I'm sorry, Entrapta's still new here, I promise she won't bother you again. And Hordak is like, but you are the one bothering me with your unwelcome intrusion. Bad
and this
guy
is
stuff.
another heartbreaking exchange.
Yep.
I'm sad for Catra.
I'm sad for Catra, too. But I'm happy for Entrapta.
I know, I am happy for Entrapta, too. I don't mean that to be two opposite ends of a spectrum.
Sure, absolutely.
It's just, Catra, again, she's sticking her neck out, running into Hordak's sanctum when she was not summoned to try to protect her friend. And now, not only is she not helping, she's in trouble again. And, her friend who, disobeyed orders is getting treated preferentially over Catra, who is doing her best to follow the orders.
Exactly.
It's just rough.
It's fucking rough. Sweet baby Catra.
It doesn't mean that Entrapta is really doing anything wrong or that she should be punished.
Oh, agreed.
In fact, she's getting a lab partner.
Oh, did you hear that, Emily? I never had a lab partner before.
And so Catra and Scorpia just stare until Imp turns around and hisses at them. Rude.
Imp is the worst. I'm sorry.
I mean, he's not great, but I don't think he's the worst.
Ugh, he's gross. Anyway, we're back in Alwyn.
Yes.
So now it's less spooky. I guess.
Yeah, now that, the veil of mystery has been lifted.
Yeah, so now it's less spooky, and it looks like they found a beacon, and Bo gives us a little bit of exposition. I'm guessing this is an outpost based on some kind of First One's communication hub. When the Black Garnet disrupted the planet, it must have caused the hub to power up. It's trying to send old stored messages.
Mm-hmm. And so my next note is First Ones, they're just like us.
They're just like us, and I actually got really sad at this.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you picked up on this, but I noticed a great tiny gender deconstruction moment when Glimmer is, first trying to face up to the holograms that are not ghosts, and she's looking at one that has 0 gender designations of any kind on it.
No,
it's
I
just
just
like a stick figure
awesome.
person, and she dubs it she. Oh, she's waving. It's not, it doesn't have any outlines of any types of clothing. It doesn't have hair. It's just this basic stick figure.
Right, and she didn't automatically go to he.
Exactly.
Like you would in a patriarchal,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I like that.
Cool. Yeah.
I like that. I didn't notice that, but I do like that.
So they put the ancient hologram ghosties to rest.
And she was, is like be at rest now. And it was feels.
Mm-hmm. It feels like that should be the end.
Mm-hmm.
But could there be a tiny nugget more of exposition?
something wild's happening.
Could there be a Chekhov's broken tracker pad?
I think so. So Bull pulls out his tracker pad to let the farmers know that the ghosts are gone.
Right.
And Glimmer's like, oh, cool. Glimmer acknowledges that Bo is master maker Bo,
Yep.
And so we got that little emotional
Rebellion's doing pretty good with you.
Thanks, buddy. And then Bo, is like, well, now that the antenna's powered down, things should be normal. But instead, we get this distorted pattern.
It's some kind of degraded code.
And a staticky, unintelligible voice.
Yes.
So, and it's a message with First One writing.
And then Adora says, I can't, if that's First One's writing, I can't read it. It's degraded. It's old. It's mysterious. And, But it's probably just broken, right?
It's probably just broken. That's it. That must be it. But is it, Jenny?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Or maybe it's just a coincidence that it's broken at the same time that, in the same way, displaying the same degraded code as this screen that is powering up in this thing that maybe looks like a spaceship?
Yeah, in some crazy desert-looking place.
I don't know. What is that crazy desert place? What, is that really a spaceship? Whose spaceship is it? What? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And then the credits.
Yes.
So, Jenny.
So, Meth.
What did we learn today?
Well, I learned a lot about things that you cannot fight with a sword. Like ghosts, holograms, emotional baggage. None of these things can be fought with a sword effectively.
That's true. Unless it is the sword of introspection.
Indeed.
Which is a metaphorical
sword. The blade of introspection.
The blade of introspection. I feel like if you were a princess on Etheria, that would be your weapon, is the blade of introspection.
Definitely. I'm adding that. I'm adding that to my character sheet for our next episode. Oh! See what I did?
What's that? Yes. So, folks, before we close this out, we have a really exciting announcement.
Yes, we do!
So, our next episode is Roll With It, which is the D&D inspired episode. We're going to be doing a full episode of that, one of our awesome episode walkthroughs, but we are also going to be playing, for a separate episode, a full one-shot D&D game of the Roll With It scenario.
Yes! We're playing
D&D as She-Ra characters.
This is my first time ever playing D&D, and I'm very excited.
So this is going to be a first time for a couple of people. We have some really incredible guests for that coming up as well.
Yeah, you guys are going to love it. It's going to be super fun. It's going to be on our main feed. Everyone's going to be able to listen to it.
Yep. So you're gonna listen to us do our own D&D podcast. So
yes.
Stay tuned and listen to your friends of Hey Adora and their friends play through Roll With It.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Ice punch!
Ice punch! Well, folks, if you liked what you heard and you want to join us in telling spooky ghost stories, you can like and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast fix. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at HeyAdoraCast, or you can email us at HeyAdoraCast@gmail.com. Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Meth.
Did you hear that we had a Patreon?
I did. I heard that it's the most fun place on the internet.
It really is the most fun place on the internet. So if you become a member of the Rebellion, that's what I'm calling the Patreon because I'm clever. So you get fantastic perks like, I don't know, our very own private Facebook group and our Discord server where we have been doing live watches.
So much fun!
It's super fun. You get playlists, you get video hangouts, you get so much from us.
And you get to see our cats if you're lucky.
And you can find the link to our Patreon, as well as the link to this week's playlist, Signals, in our show notes or at heyadora.gay. That's right, .gay. .gay!
You know that!
And remember, queer joy is radical.
And queer love saves the universe.
Ow! Spooky ghost.